I'm noticing some trail. This is not a sharp resolution. I wonder why that is. Some days it looks very sharp and other days it does not. We have lights here in the studio. We are illuminated. Let the illumination commence. Illuminate. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside of and escaped from Los Angeles, California. My name is Brian Engelman. Today is Thursday, July 31st, 2025. And this right here is the TNAM Daily Show here on the new American media, because the old American media failed you. The old American media is propaganda. They're lying to you. They think you're a nincompoop, a nitwit. They lie nonstop. And then when you catch them in a lie, they lie again. And then to cover up that lie, they have to lie 3 more times. And all of a sudden, you're living inside of a cuckoo clock of lies. That's why you left the old American media and found the new American media. Here at the New American Media, we're seeking truth, challenging dogma, and having fun. Trying to engage you with interesting information, a solid community, and some fun, and some humor mixed in. Kenneth is our resident jokester over here. Nick is always jumping in with his thoughts and ideas. When is the Nick Adams Show debuting? When is the drop date? By the way, my advice is as soon as you can do show number 1. Show number 2 could be radically different, but just do something to get the ball rolling, something to get some inertia, something to record, something to upload, something to test how to keywords and tag it and flag it and copy and paste how you want people to connect with you, get your accounts linked up. Just start with whatever you have and start, if that's what you want to do. That's my advice to basically any of you anywhere with anything you're looking at. Yogi Berra said, actually, how do I phrase the Yogi Berra quote? Let's see, Yogi Berra fork. It's just the setup. I know the backside of it. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. It's one of the most famous yogiisms attributed to Yogi Berra, the legendary New York Yankees catcher, manager, Hall of Famer. The Yogi book. I really didn't say everything I said. I say, where'd it go? I say, it just says, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. We all have to kind of figure out where we're going. There is no straightforward. You have to go left or the right. You can't not take it. So you're not saying, I say go left, or I say go right, or I say take it. Well, that's called like a pivot point. You kind of filter into one spot and you have to bounce one way or the other. But welcome everybody in chat. Kenneth wants to add jokes for the Nick Adams Show. Oh, Kenneth, your dad did not always say start, not fart. But I appreciate the information. Speaking of, let's talk about the stories in the news. Oh, geez, which one do I link that to? Kamala Harris or the Federal Reserve? Well, the Federal Reserve is stealing hundreds of billions of dollars from Americans with every interest rate point they think you need to pay them. Yes, master, what is the percentage rate I must give to you? Look at your mortgage statement. 95% of your payment is stolen by banksters. This is your Federal Reserve private banking cartel, implemented in 1913 with the ADL, the Federal Reserve, the income tax. 1913, Jekyll Island, America was overthrown. You could say in 2020, America was overthrown by Obama, Clinton, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, all of these people. I mean, go back even further than that if you must. Talk about the War of 1812 and can talk about maritime law, and you can unpeel the onion a bunch, but the Federal Reserve setting interest rates, you can't refinance where you're at, and you are just grabbing $100 bills, setting them on fire, then tossing them in the toilet to put them out. For no good reason, you are being robbed. And it's now forefront in the debate about how we proceed in America. Just because something is a certain way does not mean that it should continue that certain way. And there was sort of a merging of Republican and independent, of constitutionalist, libertarian. There's been an effort to pull the libertarians over toward the actual messiness of making sausage. And there's been an attempt from the other side to grab neocon, Republican, big government type cronyism and drag it closer to libertarianism. And you see a very different party with Vivek Ramaswamy in line to run Ohio and maybe sort out and fix up Cincinnati. By the way, new information on that case. We must always be able to revise our opinions based on new information. Turns out the guy that got knocked out, well, I don't want to, I'll play you some of what we found. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Federal Reserve. We're going to talk about Cincinnati updates. We're going to talk about Kamala Harris saying that she will not run for California governor. Now, does that mean that she thinks she can't win? Or is it possible that that means that she thinks she should run for president? Which one could it be? We will unpack that. Also, well, a whole bunch of other stories, of course, and the updates on the coup cover-up. As I said, Obama, Clinton, Mayorkas, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, all of these people, Biden's, geez, it is getting obviouser and obviouser what we're dealing with. And it's maybe the most disappointing thing that we could learn, that this country has devolved so greatly to a place where political weaponization ran rampant for the better part of 2 decades. By the way, an update on the Tea Party. Remember that when the Tea Party were getting abused, when they were getting targeted, when they were getting, well, the government was weaponized against them. Remember that? Well, there's been an update because people are now being fired. Things are changing. And I think we have a lot of reason to be positive here. While, yes, we all want to get to the bottom of the Epstein thing, we're not putting that away. Just let's stack up the wins, put the puzzle pieces together. We'll set that whole Epstein story is one big thing right here. It's right on the table. It's just I'm sliding it right there for a second while we deal with some of these other things, because more trade deals, a lot of stuff seems like it's headed in the right direction here in America. And I want to try to stay positive. That's the vibes check that Kenneth asks for. Vibe check, keep it positive, would you? So we're going to talk about all these stories and more on today's episode. Hit like, hit subscribe, and we will jump into the show right now.
your guide to the truth. thenewamericanmedia.com.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Hit like, hit subscribe. However, you are watching the show today. Let's unpack the news. This is from our Instagram feed. You should follow the New American Media on Instagram. And if you don't have an Instagram account, you should make one. It's good for what it is. Yes, it's meta, so you can't trust it as far as you can throw it, of course, but it is what it is. And we put our stories there in advance. So if you want to know what we're going to talk about, take a look. I mean, 95% of what we share on our Instagram for the New American Media is stuff that we would consider includable for the daily show. Not everything makes the cut, and I don't know, whatever. But yeah, same thing with our X account. So follow the New American Media in all the places. All right. This is video from America. Watch this. There's music, so I'll mute it. Errol Weber, U.S. Look at this. It's like a freeze frame dance party, but these are junkies. These are zombies. Philadelphia has been governed by Democratic mayors continuously since the election in 1951. At the same time, the Democrats took a majority on city council in that same 1951 election, winning the mayoralty. Look at this. Look at what's happening to these people. This is just awful. This cannot be allowed. These people have to be. This whole area needs a power wash. These people need assistance. I'm sorry, buddy. You got to come with us. We're going to get you a place to. You're going to get a health evaluation here. And we're going to get you a place to stay, get you cleaned up. We got to get you cleaned up, man. We can't have this. Whatever this is not acceptable. It's not good for you. It's not good for the community. It's not good for... I mean, this is like a joke. This is a literal zombie movie. Anyway, he continues, won 14 of 17 council seats, and they never lost a city council majority since 1951. Yeah, I think part of that is that they figured out how to manufacture the perfect amount of votes in that city, whether it's through illegal aliens, whether it's through stealing Social Security numbers or finding valid Social Security numbers from people who've already passed and giving them to illegals, or some sort of system. Maybe it's software, maybe it's scanning the numbers multiple times. Who knows what it is exactly? But if this is what your damn city looks like and they can't prioritize helping people and keeping your areas clean, this is a damned travesty to see this happening in America. And it's happening all across the country, and it's killing a lot of our good people. We need more winners in this country and less losers. This is absolutely shocking. Anyway, Errol Weber says this drug abuse problem lands squarely, exclusively, singularly on the Democrats. I'll put flee blue cities button. That's what I'll drop in the comments, eh? But I don't want to flee. I want to help them. But I mean, what can we do? All right, so Kamala Harris made a big announcement. She says she will step away from politics to spend more time with vodka. Oh, boy. Oh, the Babylon Bee. You so funny. You so funny. Yeah, why is it always the blue cities? Well, I mean, because almost every city is blue. Because it's the densest population center where you could manufacture the ability to create more votes and stay in power in perpetuity. Maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe. So Kamala Harris is not going to be running. That's very interesting. We'll get to more on that in a little bit. So President Trump nukes Federal Reserve Chair Powell and the Fed for refusing to lower the interest rate. Let's take a listen. And by the way, we said, tell us very slowly. That was our comment. Tell us like we're children. Why does the excuse me? Why does the private Federal Reserve control the United States? Tell me slowly, like I'm a child. Why in God's name are we not in charge of our monetary policy? Why are we allowing out of control usury to turn American citizens into permanent debt slaves?
Likewise, so we have a lot of money coming in and we have no inflation, and
the tariff money that's coming in is massive, and it's rebalanced trade, so we're making more and sending more and selling more. I mean, we're collecting more on foreign products that are coming in, and it's paying down the debt. And fine, we should spend 100% paying down the, but who do we owe this debt to allegedly anyway? Once again, this whole scam of a system based on hooked you, gotcha. Man, that stuff gets old. And all that extra money's coming in. We're not doing what was happening under Biden and at the final year of Trump because of the COVID bioweapon unleashed on us from China. Remember that? When China unleashed a bioweapon? And the Democrats definitely did everything that they could to overthrow the United States and President Trump. In the shadow of that, use that as a cover, perhaps. Remember? Pepperidge Farm remembers. But anyway, Trump's like, we're not spending. I know they passed the big, beautiful bill, and some of that, there's a lot of projections and guessing in that as well. But the amount of money coming in from tariffs is significant. And it's projected to span out more significantly as they're all onboarded. And it becomes the new standard every quarter. These are going to be the gains. Look, the interest rates got to come down. And I don't understand why we let banksters control our lives. Trump continues.
And we're very strong, and we should be lowering the rates. Each point that this gentleman keeps up costs us $365 billion a year. Think of that. 1 point, $365 billion. If you bring it down a point, we save 365. We should be the lowest interest rate, and we're not. We're 38, number 38, because of the Fed. It's all because of the Fed.
So get rid of them. What makes them constitutional, and put it to a vote. Bring it to a vote. Even, it couldn't possibly put it to a vote. Let's see. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Let the people decide. Is that part of the grander plan? It better be.
He's done a bad job. No, he's got a meeting today, but I call him too late. He's always too late. Even if he does it today, probably won't. I hear they're going to do it in September, not today. For what reason?
No good reason.
Nobody knows. But Europe, as you know, cut their rates 11 times in the last short period of time. But the good news is we're doing better than anybody anywhere in the world. Nobody's doing anything even close to us. Likewise, so we have a lot of money coming in, and we have no inflation, and we're very strong, and we should be lowering the rate.
All right. Yeah, we said, tell us very slowly like we're children. Why does the private Federal Reserve control the United States? Glenn Cross says, if you're willing to go down the rabbit hole, research the Virginia company. If you can find it, there's a book called The Biggest Secret, and it details what you're looking for. Good luck. To save your ass. That's what Red Banana Cat says. Regional banking families across the country realized our new government could not prevent runaway spending by issuing unlimited debt, both Dems and GOPs, because that hurts business and skyrockets rates. So they said, let's just buy the debt ourselves sometimes so we can lower rates for everyone. Under Trump term 1, we borrowed $9 trillion including many mortgages of Americans, trillions, so much that we effed the Fed in the Treasury's normal functioning. So COVID overreaction under Trump admin, handouts to cronies, impedes the Fed to do its own mission. Now you know where inflation comes from. I gotta say, now that is some fancy pants revisionist history that ignores a whole lot of the puzzle here. COVID was a bipartisan mess indeed. But the problem with our currency devaluing 97% over the past 100 years has a lot to do with the root cause of this situation than just a year or two. That was a lot to type, but those are my thoughts. And that's the battle that's going on. Should we end the Fed? End the Fed. Question of the day. Do you agree or disagree? Type it in the comments. If you're watching live, type it in the comments. QOTD, I agree, end the Fed. QOTD, I disagree. Do not end the Fed. Let me know. Agree or disagree. So that's a huge story. All right, let's talk about money. Let's talk about Congress. Let's talk about Nancy Pelosi and insider trading. Oh my gosh, is this overdue?
Senator Hawley introduced legislation that would ban members of Congress from owning or trading individual stocks.
The beginning of that was that Senator Hawley introduced the legislation to ban congressional members from owning individual stocks.
Extends to the president and vice president. Are you in favor of that legislation?
Well, I like it conceptually. I don't know about it, but I like it conceptually. And, Nancy Pelosi became rich by having inside information. She made a fortune with her husband, and I think that's disgraceful. So in that sense, I'd like it, but I'd have to really see I study these things very carefully, and this just happened. So I'll take a look at it. But conceptually, I like it. And what I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated, because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street, save a few. How did that happen? It happened by she knows exactly what's going to happen, what's going to be announced. She buys stock, and then the stock goes up after the announcement's made. And she ought to be investigated.
Senator Hawley introduced legislation that would ban.
So that's another good question. Do you agree or disagree? Type in the comments. We should allow our politicians to sell and trade stocks. Do you agree or disagree? Type it in the comments. And that was phrased, we should let our politicians buy and sell stocks. Agree or disagree? Type it live, type it after the fact. By the way, make sure you're following us in all the places. The New American Media, I'll put it scrolling at the bottom of the screen. The New American Media is on Instagram, Facebook, Truth Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, DLive, and YouTube. Search the New American Media and link up with us. We are also on Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat. We're on X at American_Media_. And subscribe to our podcast, The Agree to Disagree Show, on Spotify and Apple. All of that scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Yeah, we're looking at our podcast. I don't know if anybody else can see, but we're having an issue loading things on Spotify with our podcast. Did it finally show up? Okay, it finally showed up. I had to refresh it about 10 different times. I was going to ask if you could go check it out. But anyway, those are all scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Follow the New American Media in all the places. Also, we have a tip jar if you enjoy hanging out and you like the news that we deliver. We're crowd-funded, so we're trying to 10x, 100x, and grow this show. So please invite a couple of friends. Grab the shareable link, send it out on X, and be like, "Hey, we're all hanging out in the chat talking about the news. Join us." Something like that. Text it to a couple buddies. Send it on Facebook Messenger. Send it on Instagram messages or WhatsApp or Snapchat or text or email, whatever people use. Share a link and be like, "Yo, at least for now, noon Eastern, we talk about all the stuff going on." It's a good time. It's a good show. But the other way you could support us, of course, is at Patreon. Thank you to all of our monthly Patreon members. I think that goes through tomorrow, the first of each month. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. There are a lot of expenses that go into the software, into the programs, the account profiles, the maintenance. There's a lot. There's a lot that just breaking even is super helpful. And then past that, the more that this can generate for positive revenue, this should be my full-time thing. I should be doing 8 hours of shows a day or a part of a network doing that. I do intend to grow this show, and it has been growing. Thank you to all of you, but especially thank you to anyone who's dropped something into our tip jar or signed up on Patreon, our tip jar. But we're on the New American Media Patreon. Tip jar on Venmo is at Brian Engelman. Cash App, $ Brian Engelman. And then PayPal is at, fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com is the email address to enter. Fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. All scrolling at the bottom of your screen if you would like to pause it and toss a few quarters into the wishing well. We really appreciate you. All right, let's take a look at this Epstein file here. It says Department of Justice survey. Here, let me just open this. Watch closely.
8 p.m. The report says someone, probably Noel, carries a bundle of bedding or clothing up the stairs. It's a rare instance the video does catch movement on the stairs, but barely. Let's see that zoomed in and in slow motion again. Several of the video forensic experts we spoke with were skeptical about the report's conclusion and thought that the video could be showing an inmate walking up the stairs. Authorities say this was the last time anyone approached his cell block until his body was discovered the next morning. Again, while the video does not contradict that, experts who viewed the video say the limited field of view makes it impossible to definitively conclude that no one used those stairs in that time period. Beyond this, there are other issues our investigation.
I mean, how wild is this? Actually, here, I'm going to type Epstein is alive button. Not saying I believe it, but what if? We're going to post that. Or was that his killer? He's either alive or there was a killer. I mean, Bongino and Patel and Trump and Bondi telling us there's nothing to see in that case. It's doesn't make sense. There's a lot that we don't know about this case. There's a lot going on. And Ghislaine Maxwell is saying the reports are that she wants to testify, but she needs immunity. And people are saying you can't give that witch, that demon immunity. And you're like, well, how else do you resolve this? And then could you even trust what she says? It's like, I don't see any good way to do this. Virginia Giuffre she allegedly offed herself, or she was taken out. She falsely accused people. Other than her, can you think of any victim? There might be one or two people you can maybe think of. I don't really know the good way to let this story out other than dumping it all on the table. But yeah, credible evidence needs to be dumped on the table. We're emerging from the overthrow of the United States of America. Absolute collusion with the deep state to commit treason, sedition, traitors, treachery. they weaponized every aspect of government and social media and legacy media and the education system, the brainwashing, the manipulation, the emotional damage they did to your psyche by constantly pumping you full of lies and rage and false paradigms, false realities. This is not forgivable stuff that we're emerging from. On a lot of levels, none of this is forgivable. So if the order it's going to go in is going to push this story off for a moment, okay, that's where we find ourselves, right? But what they released with missing time, missing minutes, and this appears to be at 11:21 p.m. on August 9th, 2019. I mean, we're unpacking all of this. There's a lot to figure out here. All right, here's some good news. We're talking about homes, housing, this and that, and Trump and the economy. This sounds like a good one. Let's take a listen to President Trump signing the VA Home Loan Reform Act. Says it's a huge step in preventing and fixing veteran homelessness. That will now have
It's a very important bill.
Hold on.
And we want to thank everybody for the great help, but in particular, you two guys have done a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
Vets will now have a foreclosure safety net to prevent them from losing their homes when they're in a tough spot. This is what we voted for. Bravo. If we're going to take care of anyone, we need to take care of our vets. All right, this is Josh Hawley talking about Nancy Pelosi and insider trading.
Good chat with the president earlier this evening, and he reiterated to me he wants to see a ban on stock trading by people like Nancy Pelosi and members of Congress, which is what we passed today. I think it is absolutely vital we put a stop to this. Pelosi shouldn't just be investigated. She should be prosecuted. And we need to make what she is doing and other members of Congress is doing illegal. I mean, you shouldn't be able to go up to Congress and get rich by trading on information that only you have and not members of the public. Right now, lots of members of Congress are getting by with it. We need to make the whole thing illegal.
So when you spoke to the president, did he explain why he called you second tier?
Well, I think that the president, a number of people who are opposed to banning stock trading had said to the president that he would be covered by the bill. He'd have to sell Mar-a-Lago and sell assets. Not the case at all. The president and the vice president, all their assets are totally exempted. And here's the point. This is what we talked about. The point of this bill is to ban members of Congress from trading on the information that only they have. I've supported this bill for years, Jesse. I think we call it the Pelosi Act. It is named for her because she is the poster child of this kind of behavior. It ought to be illegal and it ought to be prosecutable. I had a good chat with the president.
I mean, I'm going to say overdue. Okay. Overdue, but thank you. Button. Overdue, but thank you. I don't want to get lost on the why did it take this long, because that's a secondary conversation. But right now, if you want more of this behavior, you just got to encourage it. Thank you, Josh Hawley. Appreciate that. All right, so let's talk about the trap that's been laid for Barack Hussein Obama now. This is Matt Gaetz talking with Real America's Voice.
And so now what they were
with Jack Posobiec, I believe,
going to do is lash the dossier that they already knew to be subsourced by Russian intelligence, that they already knew was assembled by a foreign spy who hated Trump. They were going to take that dossier and lash it to an intelligence community work product. And when this unprecedented thing happened, there were regular folks at the CIA, patriotic Americans, who stood up and said, no, this is not acceptable to include in anything that we would put our imprimatur on. They joked that this would be like citing the National Enquirer to get surveillance authorities or to make an assessment.
They knew from the jump what this was. Laughable, insulting, patently politically motivated. This should have never been allowed to happen. Anybody that took this nonsense and turned it into a national crisis that tried to tear our country apart based on lies, they absolutely must be punished to the fullest extent of the law or military tribunal. I mean, if you're talking about sedition and staging a coup to overthrow the democratically elected president of the United States of America, what do you expect to happen?
That's how ridiculous it was. But John Brennan demanded it anyway. And that wasn't because John Brennan had an original thought. It's because Barack Obama told him to. So Obama called the order. Clapper went and kind of weaved all this together. And then when there were people saying, absolutely not, we are not going to include this, Brennan overruled them. Now, why is that criminal and relevant today? You fast forward to 2020.
You know, it's relevant. It's ongoing. It's ongoing. It's an 9-year ongoing RICO conspiracy trial. Like, that's what we're dealing with.
3, and you had Brennan sitting in a deposition where I was asking questions. And ostensibly, the subject of the deposition was the 51 intelligence officials who said that the Hunter Biden laptop story had all the indicia of Russian disinformation. And so I asked Brennan, how did you know that this Hunter Biden laptop had all of these indicia of Russian assembly and Russian intelligence and information operations? And very piously, very arrogantly, in a professionally self-preening way, Brennan says, well, Matt, it's all of my experience studying Russia, studying their tradecraft, knowing them like the back of my hand. It's all of that which culminates in my ability to make this assessment regarding the laptop. Once he gave that answer in 2023, he opened the door to any question about any assessment he had ever made as to Russia. And so I started asking about the Steele dossier. And that is when John Brennan perjured himself to my questions. He said that he had nothing to do with the Steele dossier.
My initial assessment a couple of days ago, Kenneth, is Clapper an STD carrier? Came down with a bad case of the Clapper. I mentioned on a previous episode that my gut instinct is telling me there's levels to this where, at least on some levels for some of these things, people like Obama or Biden would be able to claim, oh, yeah. The director told me what was going on, man. You know, the director told me. He told me what. I think Brennan could be the most likely fall guy. But then when you understand that this Obamagate, Russiagate, this thing isn't about one incident. It's about the FISA warrants to get the wiretaps. It's the spying on candidate Trump. It's the impeachment attempts for President Trump. It's the unleashing of COVID and then burning America down by the deep state Democrats to stir up racial and discontent to try to wipe President Trump out. Whether they caused it or whether they just jumped onto it and pushed it as something they could benefit from emotionally or politically, the amount of damage done is unspeakable. So yeah, maybe initially you could say, well, you know, I thought the intelligence was good. Okay, well then explain the two impeachments. All right, then explain framing him for, but by the way, explain pulling off the election in 2020 to overthrow the country. Explain pausing the 6 fraud states. What was it? Michigan, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, something like that. By the way, for countervailing views, go to cdc.gov, who.int, and cisa.gov/rumor control for countervailing views on health and elections. They want you to know. I tell you this under duress because the social media companies want me to do that. If I'm going to talk about this issue, I have to give you countervailing views. They think 2020, Joe Biden totally got 81 million. totally legitimate votes. There was nothing suspicious about the final vote counts or pausing all of those states from counting in a timely manner. They want you to know that. That's where we're at. That's where we're at, people. But I think John Brennan might be the first fall guy. But then explain overthrowing the country in November of 2020. Explain framing Trump for an insurrection in January of 2021. Explain the lawfare and the collusion between the Biden-Obama administration, Harris. I wonder if Harris isn't running so she can get the hell away from this thing as it collapses. I stayed out of a lot of this. Maybe if I just ride off into the sunset, I can get away with it. I used to do a Kamala Harris. I got to listen to her a few more times. If I go back a year, I was probably doing a Kamala Harris impression. I remember doing well with it. But I think I just need to hear me saying it again. By the way, that's a call to action for the TNAM meme team. Anybody out there wants to, I would love for you to go back to a previous episode. And by the way, please go back to some previous episodes because we're trying to boost our YouTube numbers. We're like within striking distance of getting our monetization back, at least applying for it. We would prefer that our 2,000 videos and millions of views had monetization on them so we could, continue doing this for a living and paying our bills. But yeah, please watch some previous episodes. That was our quest of the day. I think we had 800 hours of videos to watch. So if anybody could go back to some previous episodes, click on one and let it play for a while. Watch it or keep it on in the background or set it on one device while you're doing something. We would love to boost those YouTube numbers and get the monetization back. We were very much a victim of this collusion that shut down social media. At the same exact time, I'm trying to build a new media empire. I was getting silenced by the big tech overlords at the direction of Obama, Biden, Harris, Clinton, the deep state. If we weren't lying to you like the progressives were, like the traitors of America have been on the Democrat Party, we couldn't earn a living. We couldn't monetize our work. They would delete videos. They'd try to just throw random strikes onto our account to then delete the account. They don't even talk about silencing your political opposition. That is the story of the Obama doctrine. That is what Barack Hussein Obama had brought into our government system 20 years ago, roughly, when he got involved in the first place. 17 years ago, whatever it was, it's been a mess. And that dude thought he could walk on water. There was nothing he couldn't get away with. Well, you're not getting away with this. And what's going to be interesting is that because of the precedent that the Democrats just set, trying to impeach a former president to erase the fact that they were ever there, it means the same thing can happen to Barack Obama. And this is all stuff he did to himself. You could have voted for him, not voted for him, liked him, didn't like him, whatever. All of this extra stuff is all him shooting himself in his foot, figuratively, politically, and legally. Like, this is court-martial time. This is sedition and treason and a coup. His chosen name for the Secret Service was renegade. What does renegade mean? It means a traitor. He couldn't have told you any more clearly what he was up to. Working with Hillary, working with Brennan, Clapper, Biden. There's a laundry list of names. Liz Cheney, Kinzinger, Schiff, Pelosi, they're all in on it. This is a 9-year RICO conspiracy of ongoing criminality. You can't divorce yourself from the end of it if you were at the beginning of it or the middle of it from the start of it. Or you're in it. You're scrambled eggs. So yeah, I said a couple days ago, I thought Brennan could be the fall guy. But if there's a singular fall guy, I don't know how the entire Jenga stack doesn't come toppling down. As you pull the bottom piece out, the entire house of cards will collapse. So I'm sort of revising it. To be fair, though, what I said at the time is if they can get out of it, I think they're going to try to blame Brennan first. They might arrest him first. And that's what Gates is talking about, how he perjured himself to Matt Gaetz. Once again, nobody told John Brennan to commit treason. Nobody told John Brennan to commit sedition. Nobody told John Brennan to become a traitor to the United States of America. He did that on his own. Or he was groomed by others at the agency or other similar agencies who had bigger things at play, more money at stake. We're running this plan through whether they like it or not. So if he's not going to cooperate, here's how you take him out. Okay. Well, then you go get that person out too. Well, that person was sort of just acting on another order from someone else. Good. Who were they? This is a festering cancer inside of our government. And Brennan just walked into a trap of his own setting.
That this was the FBI requiring it to be included, that he didn't analyze it at all. And now we have a whole lot of witnesses who are going to say he's lying out of the CIA. Here's what I'm wondering. How good are those witnesses going to stand up, Jack? Because if you're CIA Director Ratcliffe, if you're DNI Gabbard, two people I have a lot of trust in and a lot of respect for, you write up what people are telling you in the investigation. But that is the amuse-bouche. Like, to get to the real meal, you've got to see those people testifying in Congress, in a courtroom, somewhere, explaining how this happened and narrating it. Because you and I narrating the Russia hoax now is an insufficient level of accountability. There has to be criminal process. There have to be public hearings on this. Yes. And I think that the Congress needs to be up to that task.
Well said. The deep state did this to themselves, and they deserve every ounce of punishment coming their way. That was our comment. They deserve every ounce of punishment that's coming their way. President Trump released this update. South Korea trade deal. I'm pleased to announce that the United States of America has agreed to a full and complete trade deal with the Republic of Korea. The deal is that South Korea will give to the United States $350 billion for investments owned and controlled by the United States and selected by myself as president. Additionally, South Korea will purchase $100 billion of LNG, liquid natural gas, or other energy products. And further, South Korea has agreed to invest a large sum of money for their investment purposes. This sum will be announced within the next 2 weeks when the president of South Korea, Lee Jae-myung, comes to the White House for a bilateral meeting. I would also like to congratulate the new president on his electoral success. It is also agreed that South Korea will be completely open to trade with the United States and that they will accept American product, including cars and trucks, agriculture, etc. We've agreed to a tariff for South Korea of 15%. America will not be charged a tariff. I would like to thank the trade representatives who came forward today. It was an honor to meet them and talk about the great success of their country. There you go. So thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, as Scott Adams points out, I mean, it's sort of genius to set it up this way, because you're going to have every week another trade deal announcement, and you're staying in the news in a positive way. It's all about money coming in. I mean, come on, daddy's bringing home the bacon. Isn't that like you're voting for the CEO of your company? Don't you want that? Don't you want things like this happening? Opening it up trade routes so you can sell your things without a tariff on their side. You're going to sell more stuff. That is awesome. And anything they send in, they got to lop on a 15% tax that's collected by the government. We used to operate without an income tax. It was all tariff based. Can we get back there again? Well, there's a lot of people, President Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron Paul, Rand Paul, a lot of libertarians, Thomas Massey. Go down the list of libertarians talking about ending the Federal Reserve and how we could reimagine a better financial system for the country. Well, I think it can get better. And so, yeah, he's sort of a genius to put it out this way. Every month, every week, it's going to be another piece of news. Congratulations, another trade deal. America's getting rich. That's what we want. We want America to be strong. The Democrats, it's all about hating the people who built this country, hating the ideals this place stands for, constantly talking trash. Nothing's ever good enough. By the way, let's scrap it all, burn it down like Cloward and Piven told us, and implement a cultural Marxist, Islamo state, Sharia, globalist, New World Order, combination hybrid of hellscape. No thanks, no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. Don't want any of it. Okay? Don't want any of it. So that's what's going on. We finally have a CEO of this country that's trying to talk us up, trying to make sure we're not getting ripped off. How many other administrations didn't mind getting ripped off or did it intentionally? Because, I told Michelle the other day, America has had it too good for too long, and really has some reparations that must be made for those deep-seated sins. I know people say I'm giving you the old okey doke, right? Like saying, hey, Jack, they would say something like, hi, I'm a white guy and I didn't do anything wrong. Well, why should I pay reparations? I feel like they're trying to give us the old okey doke there. I know that person didn't do anything. And they certainly didn't do it to me, because I wasn't there and that person wasn't there. But racism is okay if we're trying to get back at somebody for something that happened previously. You see, I'm Barack Hussein Obama, and that is my Obama doctrine. In a nutshell, colleges shouldn't let white people in. Corporations should really discriminate based on skin color. I know. Michelle told me the other day, don't forget Reverend Martin Luther King, who said, judge a person by the content of the character, not the color of their skin. But, we found this little trick. It's called DEI. Didn't earn it. I'm sorry. It means, rearrange the letters, DIE. No, it's DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusion. In that way, we don't need qualified people, the most qualified people. We just need, say you got a box of crayons and there's too many of one color. You just take some out and you just put some others in. And then you take some more out and put some more in. I guess that also describes 30 million people invading our country in the last, couple of years. So, that is the Obama doctrine in a nutshell. And, I approve this message. The amount of damage done by Barack Obama is incalculable. Unbelievable. Incalculable. Yeah, that whole DEI thing has just been institutionalized payback. It's payback. It's racist. It's sexist. No men, no whites, no Christians. It's Obama paying people back. It's discrimination. It's weaponization. You can't advance in your careers. You can't get into college. You can't. The amount of creep that this creepy ideology snuck its way into it's inconceivable. I need to know iocane powder. That's only what you thought I would think. Only a fool would take a sip from his own glass. No. But I am not a fool. But then again, you would know that I know that you are not a fool. Such a good movie. Princess Bride. All right. Here's an interesting conversation. I was talking about DEI. Well, here you go. Check this one out. The victim narrative in real time. Listen to the game of tennis going on here.
have been oppressed, black people have been oppressed, white people have been oppressed. At some point, you're gonna have to get over it and move forward. This is 2025.
But it's hard to move forward when there's so many policies that are coming out that are affecting people of color.
I'm not affected.
You're not affected, but I am as a Latina.
How? Specifically, how?
I live in fear that my parents can be deported.
Okay. Are they here? They here legally?
Luckily for you, you don't have to fear that.
Are they here legally?
I'm not going to answer that because I don't have to answer you.
Okay, so that's okay.
But I'm just telling you.
So if they are, then it's because they came here illegally and not because of the color of their skin, correct?
What does that have to do with
Because you said you live in fear that you're a Latina.
Do you know what immigration is? Immigration is coming here for better opportunities. What does that have to do with the color of my skin?
No, you don't get to define what immigration is as someone who sneaks in. The people who are on the inside determine what immigration is. And immigration is when you knock at the front door, announce yourself, state your name and purpose. We run a check and make sure that you're not someone who's likely to cause problems. It's like a bouncer turning away a obviously inebriated person, turning away somebody who can't provide or won't provide an identification card that can prove they're 21 years old and allowed to be in our establishment. Or we haven't had a chance to look at the name and look at our list because we have a list of people that we've banned, deported, who are never allowed to come back into our nightclub. It's up to us to define what immigration is. And you don't get to paint with a broad brush claiming that immigration is people seeking a better life. There's some of that. Maybe there's a lot of that. Is it all that? Well, you don't get to come here seeking a better life if your plan is to harm people in the process. No, we're good. Country's full for people like you. Now, that person might be trying to make a better life for them while stealing and abusing other innocent Americans. But we're not tolerating that, and we have every right to filter and screen that out. And so by you not going to the front door and not going through the immigration process properly, you have to be escorted out the back and come back in. The right way. There's a right way. The right way is to go to the CBP home app, fill out your information, raise your hand and be like, yo, I'm here. I would like to stay here. Can I identify myself? I don't have documents. Can I start the process of becoming a citizen or a temporary guest worker or something? Or you might get a flight back to where you came from, and then you could go about the process of starting to come back. I legitimately do feel sorry for the people who have been abused in this process. The hundreds of thousands of unaccounted for, unaccompanied minors who could be dealing with atrocities I can't even fathom. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to this. But we get to define what immigration is.
It has to do
we
with
have white
legally.
people coming here.
No.
No, you do not understand what
as a
immigration
Latina,
is.
you're terrified of your parents getting deported. Why would they be deported if they're legal citizens?
There you go. Exactly. Nothing to do with no color, nothing.
Anthony Blogan is who this is. Anthony Brian Logan.
Like that, because I done seen plenty Haitians, Nigerians, Dominicans, a lot of black people getting deported, whites getting deported, there's a lot of Chinese getting deported. The thing about it is, it's not going to be as many of other races aside from Central Americans because it's so close. But you're going to get other people, but they got to come from further away. So it's not a race thing. It's about, hey, are you here legally? If you're following the law, then you're okay in my book. If you're not following the law, then why should you be given special kind of privilege?
And look, I don't think you should be abused. I don't think anything. Look, CBP home app. If you snuck in Disneyland and all the rides shut down, you listen to the loudspeakers and they go, attention, there's been a security breach, because this is a security breach of millions of people with many of them have bad intentions and a bad background that would prohibit them from being allowed in. So we got to get them out. So since there's been a security breach, we need everyone in here who has breached our perimeter to come up to customer service. Anybody without a wristband, or lights on, doors closed, one door open, everybody out. You go left if you have a wristband, raise your hand. And if you don't, you go to the right. And at the right, maybe you go right back around to the front and go, look, I'd like to identify myself, run a criminal background check. My name's such and such. I was told there's a program I could get here. It's a mess. I feel bad for people that got wrapped up in this Democrat deep state, people moving colonization effort of the Obama doctrine under Biden Harris, Mayorkas. I do feel bad. And I think there should be something for someone to say, hey, there's a few of us. We got a family over here. We wanted to start here. Can we still do it? Can we raise our hand, run our background? Like, we're good. We haven't done anything. We're not stealing any money on welfare. We're not committing any crimes. We're not running from a deep criminal background check. I would like to see some of that.
People have been oppressed. Black people have.
But there has to be a system. And the previous regime busted the system. That's their fault. It's not our fault, but we got to clean it up. There's been a security breach. All right, this is interesting. Jake Tapper talking with Nancy Pelosi. Watch how uncomfortable this gets and how quickly it gets uncomfortable. Here, see the post.
Let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of technical issue. Nancy Pelosi became rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
But I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that had been made over time. I'm not into it, my husband is, but it isn't anything to do with anything insider. But the president has his own exposure, so he's always projecting. And let's not give him any more time on that, please. We're going forward here, and I'm very proud of my family. And
no, we are not going forward.
He might make fun of us while somebody inspired by him breaks into our home and hits my husband in a deadly fashion, hits my husband over the head, and he thinks that's a riot. I'd rather not go into some of my other complaints about him right now, rather to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid.
Let me just read what he said. I'm sorry that we had some sort of...
How interesting was that? She seems to think... Nancy even lies in bed, I hear. She seems to think based on how she reacted. And tell me if you caught on with this as well. I really do like to break down these videos, and I don't know. I do have a psychology degree. I don't have an advanced degree with, like, vernacular, nonverbal cues or interrogation techniques or anything per se. But what I do have, I have an ear and I have an instinct. And that's the shit you just can't teach. Yeah, I guess you could teach it. But I guess you obtain it through thousands of hours of exposure and thought about how everybody speaks. I study how musicians communicate. I study how freestyle rappers communicate. Rappers and freestyle rappers. I study how politicians speak. I study what politicians don't say. I study what politicians go out of their way to avoid saying. And then I listen to what people say, trying to understand the why. She seems, in my interpretation, my estimation, she tried to brush it off like she doesn't want to talk about it because she is... Whether it's something that's legal or not, it is shady. And she just said what she thought, because she thought she was there to just talk about an anniversary or something. No. She said, I don't do that. My husband does that. Are you out of your mind, lady? We all know that the spouses of the politician or the CEO or we know that the NGOs and the fake charities and the fake organizations and the spouses, how many accounts was Joe Biden sending money to that was alleged to be kickbacks and bribes, allegedly? 10% for the big guy. And What did he have? 15, 20 different family members, allegedly. Their bank accounts were shooting out payments to grandkids. And here, we're throwing Biden money everywhere. We're going around the country, going around the world, selling America out to the highest bidder. Sure is what it seemed like, what Clinton was up to. Remember that when she sold, I just want to say Burisma. Uranium One. Remember that? I don't know. I feel like so many of the deep state politicians of the past several decades have been obviously anti-American, obviously bribed and blackmailed, obviously turned traitor to our country to sell us out, steal our money, and then they collect their kickback, and they don't care. They didn't care. So I expect a lot of stuff to be coming out real soon. Nancy Pilpopsy. What is hers? It's wine, allegedly. Maybe it's vodka, too. But no, we are not going forward. We're going to stop the theft. This lady's been treacherous for decades. All right, that's what I wanted to share with you on our Instagram feed. I now want to show you what's on our X feed over here at American_media_. All right, pinned at the top of our X feed. By the way, anything breaking? Always feel free to check, see if anything's breaking. Donetsk region. Okay, don't see breaking news on it. Wondered if there was a ceasefire, perhaps. All right, but pinned to the top of our X account, you'll find our Patreon link. This is where I have a conversation with John B. Wells of Caravan to Midnight, who was gracious enough to have me as a multi-occasion guest on Coast to Coast AM. Thank you for that. One of several hosts who have allowed me that time. And I've interviewed many of their hosts, if you go back through our stuff. Ian Punnett, Jimmy Church, George Norrie, John B. Wells. If I'm leaving anyone out, sorry that I'm forgetting you. But yeah, check that out. It's pinned at the top of our page. Feel free to share it and ask other people to consider signing up to be a part of our TNAM team, because the old American media failed, so we started the new American media. All right, there's our live stream. And the Fed vibes grow. Kamala Nixes, California governor. New Cincinnati Brawl details and a coup cover-up. We've covered everything except the Cincinnati Brawl, so let's bounce through some of these stories. Glenn Beck and his blackboard is always important. The violence is growing from the deep state. They're a thrashing animal.
Let me just remind you that I said for years, something like, off the top of my head, socialists, anarchists, Islamists, I think I also threw communists in there, will work together to destabilize Israel and Europe. It will spread to America, and the plan is to collapse the Western world. Sounds crazy. Let's go to the timeline of the last few months. Let's start in December 2024, December last year. This 20-something guy allegedly gunned down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, Midtown Manhattan. The killer's manifesto raged against the healthcare industry, and left-wing voices treated him like some heroic Robin Hood. According to a disturbing Emerson College poll among people between 18 and 29 years old, 41% said killing the healthcare CEO was either acceptable or somewhat acceptable. 41%.
It's the normalization of political violence to achieve an end, the means to an end. These air quote healthcare companies have been up to no good for a very long time. Yes, 111 indeed, Kenneth. Have been up to no good for a very long time, and there needs to be a reckoning, but there needs to be a legal reckoning. I say in the absence of information, speculation runs rampant. But also, in the absence of justice, you see thrashings and flailings in last-ditch resorts. the crimes perpetrated on the American people by the medical system, you don't think you're ready for. There's people that say we're not ready to handle processing everything that's on that Epstein list. Oh, you don't think we can handle the Epstein list? Wait till you find out about what's been happening in healthcare. And just when someone is in need of some services, they need to be rendered. That's the whole point. That's what we're trying to do. Oh, what do you care? You supported Trump and he gutted Medicare. Medicare was being robbed so that Americans can't get decent coverage. These different states set up different parameters, and it's a mess. Yeah, yikes. Only wealth care exists. Wealth care. Interesting fact here. I'm wearing a U.S. Border Patrol shirt. I think on the back it says, does it say it on the back? Oh, no, at the very bottom. Sorry. To protect and serve time. To protect and serve time. Because wasn't it under Obama that they were throwing the Border Patrol under the bus, trying to do the job of bouncer for the United States? And Obama was siding with the bad guys. Huh. Almost like a renegade or a traitor, huh? Yeah, check it out. I'm wearing it's Glenn Beck. What's that say? The Glenn Beck program. I think this is when he was on CNN, before CNN lost their damn minds. I didn't really know this was in the stack when I started the show today, but interesting that I was wearing it. All right, he continues.
On January 27th, by the way, would we say he was a socialist or an anarchist?
Right.
January 27th. Let's go here. January 27th, 2025. A man carrying a Molotov cocktail or two was arrested near the U.S. Capitol, allegedly saying he planned to kill Trump-appointed Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, Defense Secretary Hegseth, and House Speaker Mike Johnson. Then we have, in February, we have the Tesla takedown. These are attacks on the vehicles and the dealerships all across, and it all started picking up traction. In March, a self-described queer scientist was arrested for allegedly firebombing the New Mexico Republican Party headquarters in Albuquerque.
This is a coordinated effort, everybody. This is all part of their plan. They have declared open war with us. We don't want this. We just want to get along, enjoy some of our time. Good friends, good people, good family. That's it. That's all we're looking for. But they are the ones attacking the things in their way. We didn't ask for this. We're the ones that have to clean it up.
Graffiti that read ICE equals KKK was found on the outside of the burned building. Then we go to April 2025. We go to Pennsylvania. The governor there, Josh Shapiro, his official residence was firebombed on Passover night. The suspect allegedly set the governor's mansion on fire because of what Shapiro, who is Jewish, quote, wants to do to the Palestinian people, end quote. In May, it was the murder of two young Israeli embassy staffers who were gunned down outside the capital of the Jewish Museum there in Washington, D.C. The alleged killer.
There is a lot of violence happening. Jeez. I mean, Glenn's been going and going and going, and these are all different stories.
Is a 31-year-old man who allegedly shouted, "Free, free Palestine." And while being arrested, he told police he did it for Gaza. The suspect used to be a part of the Party for Socialism and Liberation, but the group claims we haven't seen him since 2017. Then we go to June. An illegal immigrant in, where is that? Here it is. An illegal immigrant from Egypt allegedly firebombed a peaceful Jewish protest in Boulder, Colorado. 8 victims were hospitalized. One of them was an 82-year-old woman. She survived the Holocaust but died of her injuries weeks later in this incident. Also in June, a pro-Palestinian activist was arrested for allegedly torching 11 vehicles in New York. June was also the month when the mobs of anti-ICE rioters unleashed their fury on the streets of Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah.
They smashed law enforcement vehicles with rocks, threw rocks at policemen, just keeping things mostly peaceful. Naturally, the U.S. House Democrats unanimously voted against condemning those riots in L.A. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said, quote, "We will not be lectured by extreme MAGA Republicans about questions of law and order." Then in July,
there's no such thing as
July
extreme
7th,
MAGA.
Man shoots some officers. Rioters tried to burn down another ICE facility, assaulting police officers until the riots were broken up with tear gas and arrests. Graffiti on the side outside of the facility reads, "Kill your masters." Socialist, anarchist, Islamist. Finally, July 7th, a Michigan man opened fire on a border facility in McAllen, Texas. 2 police officers and an agent were wounded and hospitalized. U.S. Border Patrol agents returned fire, killing the subject. Sorry, said last one. It's this one, July 11th. We have more anti-ICE chaos. It erupted during a raid on a cannabis farm in Ventura, California.
Oh, yeah.
Activists again assaulted ICE officers and vehicles, with one protester appearing to fire shots at federal agents. All of this since December. I know that may seem like a long, long time ago, but it wasn't.
Not.
We're talking the last 8 months. Murder, attempted murder, arson, vandalism, total chaos, terrorism. This is the very definition of terrorism. Socialists, anarchists, and Islamists will work together to destabilize Israel and Europe. It will spread to America, and their plan is to collapse the Western world.
I mean, doesn't it feel like that's what's going on? We're in the middle of a world war that they have started.
Wow. Seems right.
Watch Glenn Beck on the Blaze TV. That was a great synopsis of all, I mean, not all the violence, but just, my God. We got to do better. Yeah. Brought to you by your stolen tax dollars from the Democrats. But you know what? With the USAID dried up and Act Blue being identified as a money laundering slush fund, I mean, the Democrats appear to be broke toast. Broke toast. That's a good band name, Broke Toast. I like that phrase. Andy No says a convicted S offender named Suleiman Abdul Hadi has been arrested in Vancouver, Washington, near Portland for allegedly grooming and R-ing underage girls in a manner similar to the UK child groomers. Abdul Hadi allegedly hooked the children on alcohol before R-ing them. The youngest victim is only 12. What in hell? Wow. All right, C3, I'm going to buzz through the stories here. C3 says we should totally trust Susan Rice about Russiagate being a lie because she's always honest. Also, here's a video of Susan Rice telling Americans about Benghazi. Oh, yeah, remember this gem?
It began spontaneously in Benghazi as a reaction to what had transpired some hours earlier in Cairo, where, of course, as you know, there was a violent protest outside of our embassy sparked by this hateful video.
Remember that? Huh. This actually has some parallels. Well, there's a hateful video, so, I mean, you got to excuse violence, right? Well, it actually ties in with the Cincinnati attack. Because there's new video out, I'll show you, but it shows the guy that was getting pummeled appeared to have been participating in an altercation that led to the second part of the video. But it's still, you add that first component of the video in, what transpires next? How do we view that? Well, this administration with Susan Rice and Barack Hussein Obama, they were putting the notion out that, well, I mean, if you insult Islam, like in this video, well, you deserve violence. You get what you get. You asked for it. You did this to yourself. You know better. And they were also pretending some YouTube video that nobody ever saw was the reason for Benghazi. It never was. But the reasoning behind the why was also the scapegoat to try to poison the minds of Americans and Christians and non-Muslims to say, don't you dare criticize us or else. Violence explodes because of you. You do as we say or else. And that was the secondary message, not just to cover up the reality of what Benghazi was. As they were dragging Ambassador Stevens and how many lives were lost that day? Or were they running guns? We still don't really have the full Benghazi story. But oh, I forgot about this gem. Yeah, nobody watched this YouTube video. But by citing it, it's almost like, well, she deserved to get AR'd because you saw the dress she was wearing. You know she wanted it. It's that same weird excuse energy.
There was a violent protest outside of our embassy sparked by this hateful video.
Hateful.
But soon after that spontaneous protest began outside of our consulate in Benghazi, we believe it began spontaneously in Benghazi.
That's who Susan Rice was. So, yeah. Believe her if she says Russiagate's a lie. Fool Nelson here says, sources told Fox News Digital that one of the documents FBI officials found inside a burn bag was the classified annex to former special counsel John Durham's final report, which includes the underlying intelligence that he reviewed. Oh, really now? Oh. General Mike Flynn says all these burn bag documents will have fingerprints on the documents. If you are one of the people responsible for trying to destroy this evidence, you need to come forward now. Cash and Bongino, you might want to consider a very short window for amnesty for those who will come forward to tell the truth. And he tags Trump, Bondi, and Gabbard. Keep your eyes peeled on that. Laura Logan here.
Media organizations. And you know what was happening to those people? To Lawrence and Masara Kim and all of them? The journalists sitting in the big capital cities, the big cities and in the capital.
Talking about Nigerian reporters risking their lives to document a Christian genocide. There's a global war against Christianity happening. And maybe the three large religions have been at war in one degree or another for a long time. But this story is getting almost no attention.
Who were taking the line from the government and didn't have the courage or the integrity or the professionalism or the character or the motivation to go to those frontline villages. They just bought the line from the government that it wasn't really happening, and they bought the line from the U.S. State Department that this is nomadic tribesmen being forced to move from climate change. The Fulani.
Can you believe that?
Oh, the fact that they are Muslims got nothing to do with it. Because they're no.
Trying to blame climate change. They are the Democrat deep state are the masters at taking a narrative and trying to shoehorn it into every place it doesn't belong. To lie about, oh, it's because of climate change. They're having a conflict. So we have to hurry up and steal more American tax dollars as pirates and then give some to our friends, and then they can money launder 10% back to us. That's what we get for pulling off the heist. That's what this regime has been about.
Nomadic tribesmen, they're looking for other land. They're looking to go somewhere, and that's forcing them to clash.
And that's what they said about the forced colonization of the Obama doctrine, to flood sovereign nations with non-citizens to permanently change their demographics and their voting, their history, their future. It's a plan. They're like, oh, no, it's because climate change. And no, they're all just seeking something. Huh? There's a few groups that are getting paid handsomely to run it, and you are neck deep in it. That's what's going on. Nobody wants their culture to be invaded, no matter what culture you're in. You want to be in an area where the people around you are something, you guys get along in a way that, like, you share a lot of values and you want a lot of the same things.
With the Christian villages. Nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. That is just an example to you of how climate has been used as a scam.
Yep.
I mean, it's not just fake, it's much worse than that. All of these systems that are being implemented that are so profoundly dishonest, they're systems of control. How do we control the people, control the information and the narrative, and then have that as cover to do whatever it is that we want to do?
Yep. Finish that video. There's a lot of good stuff here from Laura Logan. Should I just play it? I mean, she's
that are being implemented that are so
she's
profoundly
cooking. Let's let her
dishonest.
cook.
They're systems of control. How do we control the people, control the information and the narrative, and then have
She bought my January 6th footage, so I'm inclined to want to hear her talk.
that as cover to do whatever it is that we want to do, which, by the way, is to go into Christian villages and not only annihilate people. I mean, in one of the recent attacks that Truth Nigeria has reported on, putting women and children inside cages in the market and burning them alive. I mean, I was sitting down.
This is Laura Logan talking with the DC. What is this? The DC Press Club. Calls out the silence at the recent press conference for Equip Persecuted in DC. Okay, that's what it is.
To a dinner in my hometown in Texas one Friday night years ago. My husband was with me. It was when we were trying to get the sound of freedom was being blocked because people didn't want child trafficking to be a conversation everyone was having. And we were doing our best to help get that movie put out. And I got a video. I showed it to my husband as we sat down. He couldn't eat. And it was a young 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old girl from Nigeria who was pulled from one of the villages. And as they were slicing off her head, they were digging her baby out of her tummy. And she was well advanced in pregnancy. That's the reality of what, you know, when you put those numbers up.
Good God. Yeah, you can't show that at dinner.
And you go before your colleagues in Congress and you put those numbers forward. That's what it means in human terms. I mean, Lawrence once was calling Doug and myself. He's sitting in the back of a meat wagon on the bodies of his friends and neighbors with malaria. Remember, after that he went out with malaria for weeks. I mean, these the courage of the people who are on the front lines reporting this cannot be overstated.
All right. So we got to pay more attention to the Christian genocide in Nigeria. All right. Publius is reporting this. IRS swamp. They're saying IRS Commissioner Billy Long has placed Holly Paz and Elizabeth Kastenberg, two high-ranking officials from the Obama era, on administrative leave for allegedly targeting Tea Party groups to rig the 2010 and 2012 elections. Wow. Holly Paz personally reviewed and delayed Tea Party applications, while Kastenberg admitted in a 2011 email that conservative groups were flagged due to their political affiliations. Both played key roles in the 2010 to 2012 Tea Party targeting controversy. They both have faced no consequences and kept their jobs for 15 years. Yeah, they kept their job for 15 years. That's a reward for their political hit jobs. We'll follow that case. Check out the special episode that I did earlier. This one here is the Unhappy Hour. The Cleveland Indians have traded away Cy Young winning pitcher Shane Bieber, coming back from an injury, to the Toronto Blue Jays. Cleveland's only a couple games back from the playoffs, and we traded away our ace. Very strange move. Not a fan. So we did a special show on that. Please check it out. That is the name of our other show, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Put it up on the screen there. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Check them out. We're on YouTube and Facebook as well. Well, we're on all the platforms. Also, Strictly Football should be coming very soon. Mike Barra and myself, and probably Jim Mitchell. We will talk football very soon. There's a game tonight. The Detroit Lions play the Los Angeles Chargers in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. So football's back, baby. I'm excited for that. It's the thing I use to get away from the madness of the real world and all these awful stories we have to cover each day. All right, so here's Tulsi Gabbard. Let's take a listen. Talking with Glenn Beck.
John Kerry has made his account private. Peter Strzok deleted his entire X history.
Yes, he did. The Wayback Machine should have all this stuff. I certainly hope they were smart enough to do that.
Are you sensing they feel the walls are closing in?
The walls are closing in was one of those phrases that the lying legacy media would always use against Trump. The walls are closing in.
In my view, that's the only way that I can read this situation. Those who are truly innocent would not be taking those kinds of actions. And once again, this is why it's so important to declassify this information, to get the truth out, because it's something that for anyone who is mildly objective is irrefutable and undeniable. And can be used and is currently being reviewed by the Department of Justice to bring about accountability for those involved.
All right, so fingers crossed. We will see. Yep, there was a copy of the show right there. Yeah, I don't know why it's blurry. I don't know why the edges are... Maybe my blue shirt is too close to green? You may need a contrasting shirt for sharper lines? I don't know. All right. President Trump tweeted out, second quarter GDP just out, 3%. Way better than expected. Too late, must now lower the interest rate. No inflation. Let people buy and refinance their homes.
We should be lowering the rates. You know, each point that this gentleman keeps up costs us $365 billion a year. Think of that. 1 point. $365 billion. If you bring it down a point, we save 365. We should be the lowest interest rate, and we're not. We're 38. All
right, I did play this clip earlier, but you get the gist of it. Minimize, close down. There we go. Yeah, Blue Jays get Shane Bieber. Good luck, Shane Bieber. I liked you a lot. Those injuries were really tough. Had Tommy John. He's been coming back. He's been off his game for 2 years, and we just saw him pitch in the minors and then just traded him away. I wish we could have done better. Chanel Ryan here is saying that John Brennan's handmaiden was in plain view. Obama CIA chief John Brennan handpicked Gina Haspel to oversee the London station. She was there during the creation of the Steele dossier. Cash said she blocked Russiagate evidence. Are we taking bets? All right, so Gina Haspel might be one of the first to go down here. Watch this 4-minute report on that point with Chanel Ryan. Fox News shares this on video. An official at the University of Iowa recorded in an undercover. Here, let's take a watch.
I want to say maybe February, March. Our communications person came in and was like, hey, we have to redo our websites per the regents to take off diversity, equity, inclusion, anything like that, any buzzwords. So they swept our websites. So that's why it's not there anymore.
So they swept it for buzzwords. No more diversity, equity, inclusion. But does that mean anything changed? Well, listen to the super smart lady.
It's not there, but we are essentially finding ways to operate around it. So that was our solution. We were like, oh, okay, we can't use that word. Okay, civic engagement.
Civic engagement. Some random buzzword concoction. There you go. Civic engagement means racism. Institutionalized discrimination by the punitive left, who will frame and weaponize every form of media, education, indoctrination, and government against their enemies.
I think that's a lot of what we're doing. It's like, oh, okay, we're not allowed to use this word. Okay, we're just going to do this. So yeah, that's why you're not going to see DEI listed on any University of Iowa website, but there have been transitions and things that they've done, so they're not getting rid of certain things. On behalf of my office, we we're still going to talk about DEI. We're still going to do all the DEI things. Like,
we're still going to do DEI. We're still going to talk about DEI things. It's illegal. It's been patently discriminatory this entire time. Shame on you for doing it in the first place, and double shame on you for doing it now. Imagine if the shoe was on the other foot and you were being discriminated against, you wretch of a lady. I cleaned that up nicely.
my assistant dean is a black woman, and I could not imagine her being like, okay, guys, yeah, we're just not going to talk about DEI anymore. I will say...
You couldn't imagine a non-racist black woman as your dean? Wow, that's really telling from this lady. Good grief.
Personally, like, I am proud of the fight, even if you aren't...
What fight? To be racist and misogynist against white men and white people in general and men in general?
Seeing it on some big, like, email chain or something like that, like, for me, the fact that, like, it didn't happen until this last spring, to me, it has said a lot.
All right. Well, wow. That's the University of Iowa. I think we're going to find more and more of these. Good job getting this on camera, and let's see these people get fired immediately. And let's wait for the lawsuits. It's patently discriminatory. What is this? Project Constitution says this guy's been building, but now all the 2x4s are only 92 and 5/8 inches long instead of 96 inches. I'm super confused. Anyone else seeing stuff like that? The Susan asked Grok, please fact check all 8 claims of the original poster regarding Trump and Russia. Please be detailed and accurate. They thought they were gonna get you. We're gonna catch them lying about things. Are you? Well, yes, the Steele dossier was unverified opposition research funded by the DNC to smear Trump. Yes, initial ICA draft concluded that Russia lacked preference for Trump. Yes, Obama ordered revisions via irregular process to claim Russian aid for Trump. Yes, both were key in FISA warrants on Trump associates like Page. Yes, they underpinned Mueller's probe. They underpinned Mueller probe's initiation. Yes, fostered illegitimacy narrative impeding Trump's agenda. This supports Russiagate as major political abuse. James Wood says, if these people are not indicted, this country is done. Let's take a listen.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016. We must, absolutely must, hold every one of these criminals accountable for the crimes that they committed. They are the most heinous crimes committed in American history. James Comey, John Brennan, Clapper, Rice, Biden was in the meeting in July 28th in the Oval Office. They briefed Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to, quote, tie Trump to Russia collusion lies. It consumed our national discourse for 5 years. It undermined a sitting duly elected president. It sabotaged administration. It framed a 3-star general. It destroyed and ripped this country apart. We had a constitutional crisis, the likes of which I don't think any American can fully comprehend. It is atrocious, and every single one of them must be held accountable.
Yeah, and of course.
So well said. That was a great synopsis. A couple from Cynical Publius. I'm so sick and tired of Democrats claiming there's no there with respect to Russiagate. If you're such a Democrat, please take the following quiz. Oh, I think that's what I just answered was the questions to it. All the stuff. Steele dossier was fabricated, designed to smear Trump. The original draft of the 2017 intelligence community assessment said that Russia didn't seek to assist Trump in the election. Obama then used non-standard protocols that cut out the usual intelligence experts on the ground floor who make these assessments. And the ICA was changed to state that Russia did seek to assist Trump. So Obama changed it. Like he's the one, he brought this treason on himself. Was the Steele dossier and the modified ICA used to obtain numerous search warrants against Trump's inner circle. Yes, that's Watergate on kryptonite. That's treason. That's were the Steele dossier and the modified ICA used as the bases for initiating the Mueller investigation? Yes. And did all the above cause much of the general public to believe the first presidency was illegitimate? And did it greatly reduce the first Trump administration ability to enact the agenda that the constitutional will of the American electorate elected him to achieve? If you answered no to any of those, you've been brainwashed by your media. A simple review of the materials recently declassified by DNI Gabbard, coupled with a general knowledge of the political climate since 2016, will reveal that all the above questions can only be answered yes. Also says, when considering Russiagate, it's important to remember that its perpetrators don't believe they did anything wrong. Democrats are authoritarians, and authoritarians believe we ordinary people are unfit to run our own lives, and we need them, our elite rulers, to make the correct decisions on our behalf. When we elected Donald Trump as president in 2016, they viewed that as a tragic mistake, and they believed it was their moral duty to save us from ourselves. Thus, things like fabricating intelligence reports, spreading lies through the media, obtaining search warrants illegally, and the whole host of nefarious behaviors underpinning Russiagate were entirely justified in their minds because they crippled Trump version 1.0's ability to govern, and thereby they are protecting you and me, the hapless children who need their corrective protection. This is how these people think. I promise. Matt Taibbi asks, for people who don't think Russiagate was a hoax, let's try a question. What was the incident that triggered the Trump-Russia investigation? What started it all? Another from Cynical Publius. At this point, I think every Democrat who's well-informed knows that Russiagate is a real thing. Yes, we still have the extreme loony left who refuse to acknowledge it, but to the extent members of the Democrat media complex have well-informed people who are still tethered to reality, they know it's all true. And that brings me to the thing that bothers me the most right now. They see nothing wrong with it, and they have no intent to apologize or even admit that it was wrong. Simon Mahan says 35% roughly of U.S. corn production, about 30 million acres, is dedicated to ethanol. But that land area could support around 5,000 gigawatts of solar capacity, which is 3 to 4 times the total nameplate capacity of the entire U.S. electric grid. We don't have a land problem. Oilfield Rando switched that to 30 million acres are devoted to an obscene crony capitalist scam, when those 30 million acres could easily be devoted to another obscene crony capitalist scam. All right, that's a next level thought process about American farmland. This lady here, what is this? Senate Judiciary Democrats. Maya Wiley says, we have an administration that wants to block us from the ballot. We'll celebrate 60 years of the Voting Rights Act by doing just what John R. Lewis taught us. Good trouble. Doesn't make any sense. Because, yes, citizens can vote. Kurt Schlichter says, anyone too stupid to get a proper ID shouldn't be voting. And I want to block stupid people from voting. By the way, find me these mythical characters that don't know how to obtain an identification card. Also, let's see why Seth Rich is trending. They say, so here it is. Seth Rich uploaded the DNC server emails and gave them to WikiLeaks. Then the Clintons killed Seth Rich, according to C3 on X. Then Hillary and Obama used the Russia hack lie to spy on Trump and frame him. Then they continued undermining his presidency with their operation. They're linking it to a couple documents coming out. Clandestine says these Durham Annex files are disturbing. The Clinton campaign, in coordination with the Obama admin, the media, and the intelligence community, wittingly coordinated to demonize Putin and Trump and blame them for the DNC hack. Seth Rich, they were all in on it. His name was Seth Rich. Yeah, we've been talking about Seth Rich for years, an American hero. What do you say? Do you agree or disagree with that thought, that if you're too stupid to get a American identification card, you shouldn't be voting? Do you agree or disagree? There's just the voting without an identification card opens up a world of potential fraud, so you don't do it. That's it. And I fully support the ability to help anybody without an ID. Should have a nationwide 800 number. If you're an American citizen, Nick agrees. Kenneth drops his jokes. 500 gigawatts. Yes, gigawatts. Why not? But yeah, find these mythical characters that they can't find their American citizen identification card. And let's get them one. But give me a break. It's about fraud. It's about fraud prevention. Russia collusion hoaxers secretly stashed thousands of incriminating Russiagate documents in burn bags used to store classified documents prior to their permanent destruction, including the 200-page annex to former special counsel John Durham's report that was given to Biden Attorney General, says Sean Davis. Biden Attorney General Merrick Garland. Cynical Publius says, okay, I'm not denying the accuracy of this report, but something else has to be going on here. As someone who has spent plenty of time working in a skiff, burn bags are routinely removed on something like a weekly basis and destroyed with a rigorous audit trail documenting handling and destruction. The Durham report was released over 2 years ago, so it's hard to believe that those burn bags were never destroyed before now. Unless some mysterious benefactor made sure they were not. I'd love to know the rest of the story. So, question remains. Is this fabricated, planted evidence, or is this stuff that was intended to be destroyed to cover up crimes? What's more likely, that they were not thorough in checking inside the safe, or the fact that maybe they left something fake behind? I don't know. Kash Patel found thousands of sensitive Trump-Russia probe docs inside of burn bags in a secret room at FBI. What does that mean, a secret room? I want more info on what that means. 3 possibilities with Kamala. Smart strategists told her she has no shot at being California's governor. That's likely. Or stupid strategists told her she has a shot at being elected president in 28. That's also likely. Or 3, somebody promised her a Supreme Court seat if she sits down and shuts up. Oh, good God. Hopefully not. Kamala Harris has said she's not running for governor. Let's see how that shakes out. David Axelrod, despite efforts by President Trump and his minions to rewrite it, the history of Russian interference in the 2016 election and the actions of the intelligence community in response is very clear. Even Marco Rubio once concurred when he was free to do so. Molly Hemingway says, looks like we have an all-hands-on-deck effort to stop people from talking about the explosive revelations being released about what the Russia collusion hoaxers did to harm America. Do not take your foot off the gas pedal, truth seekers. Sean Davis shares this and says, you know, we can see the exact quote and bullet point and footnote citing the Steele dossier in the secret version of the ICA you peddled, right? And that we know you that you produced a separate version that you gave Congress where you excised the Steele excerpts to cover your tracks, right? This is where Susan Rice said, the Trump admin's ongoing lies about the intelligence assessment that Russia interfered in the 2016 election thoroughly debunked. And they've decided that their only play here is it's a shameless, dishonest, defamatory scheme. No, it's justice coming to distract from Epstein. Oh, you're going down, Susan Rice, and you earned it. What is this? They say this is worth the 1-minute watch.
I've lived and watched my whole life.
And it's got stupid piano music. I can't play it. All right. So Bernie Moreno says Cincinnati is an amazing and spectacular city, deserving political leadership matching the greatness of its citizens. Aftab Purval issues a late in a weak statement. Look at this. Police chief blames social media, not the lack of almost 200 officers. Bernie said Connie Pillich let lowlifes off with a $400 bail. Yes, but it wasn't for this attack. It was from a July event, to be precise. Greg Landsman silent, posting about Ukraine and city council members blaming the victim. This is Holly. She wanted to have a nice night out with her friends. She got this. It's a single mother. Holly gave me permission to release the photo so that others will never suffer what she did. There's new video out, but it doesn't show Holly, the victim of this potentially racist hate crime in Cincinnati. I mean, this is atrocious. Samuel Fisher points out that Cinci, hang on, let me make sure let me switch the scope of the image here. Cincinnati Councilman Victoria Parks commented about the recent viral attacks on white people in her city, saying, quote, "They begged for that beatdown," end quote. I am grateful for the whole story. Got a new video to share. I'll show you in a second here. So yeah, there you go. They were trying to destroy the documents in burn bags, or did they frame Trump again? If they left him behind, you got to assume it's a trap. I don't know what to do, but there's a thread about the deep state's biggest hoax. California Democrats are giving $20 to $50 million apartment buildings to NGOs in Los Angeles. Just imagine the kickback deals from this. The corruption is beyond comprehension. There was a hearing asking the state where the funds went, and the state auditor couldn't find any documents showing where the money went to. At that time, it was $24 billion. They couldn't even account for even $1 where the money went. City of LA is the same $1 billion spent. Nobody knows where the money went. Massive corruption. You have nonprofits. They own buildings worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They have special deals, special privilege within the city of LA. They get funded by having these vacant homes occupied by homeless people, but we don't even know if they're occupied by anyone, but they get funded by the billions. They are even given buildings. They build apartment buildings worth $20 to $50 billion. And many homeless are living in the buildings. It's so much corruption in these blue cities. Alex has a breaking video. European central bank head admits that without CBDCs, central bank digital currency, central bankers will lose complete command and control of the economy. Quote, if we are not involved in experimenting and innovating in terms of digital central bank money, we risk losing the role of anchor that we have played for many, many decades. Top economist Kirk Elliott reveals why the central banks don't want free banking. Well, if she's worried, then I'm all about it. President Trump just posted the deep state behind bars saying, quote, oh, there's Podesta too. Until this happens, nothing will change. You have to arrest the perpetrators of the coup. President Trump is like full speed ahead. But since he is, I would say right now is the time to start the indictments. You cannot wait. You're going to drop all this stuff now, then you have to be ready to go right now. I want to wake up to find out that there have been 1,000 simultaneous arrests made. I want to wake up to that news. Like, you cannot wait around for the co-conspirators to keep going. You got to take out the leadership. You have to indict them. You have to do it now. And this is seditious conspiracy to commit treason, sedition. I mean, this could be military tribunal. DC Drano says, remember when the expert says it was a conspiracy theory to say the Green New Deal and global warming hoax were Chinese psyops to weaken Western economies? While they build theirs with no environmental controls? Yeah, it looks like the conspiracy theorists were right again. Annual carbon dioxide emissions, and then in 1960 or so, kablamo through the friggin' roof. China needs to be held accountable. For COVID, too. General Michael Flynn pointing out the one big thing that's going to come out, and I think it's going to be even worse, is 2020. The coup. The plan initially was Obama, Hillary, but they got stopped by Trump. Then they had to figure out how to do it again. In other words, 2016 was just an attempt to steal the presidency, and 2020 was the actual overthrow. Look at that massive spike. Totally legitimate. Amuse posting about, what is this? The new bioethics of coercion. Democrat scientists want to make you allergic to steak. Congress needs to consider how it can stop well-intentioned Democrat scientists from genetically engineering super ticks that would make all of us allergic to beef in order to stop global warming. These guys are literally insane. Brian Cates reminds us, remember, this story is still ghosted by the mainstream press and the political class. Remember the Minnesota assassination in the mask, pretending to be a cop? This is an illegal alien in California, granted a restraining order by a San Francisco judge, preventing ICE from arresting him. 2 weeks after that, he tried to steal a car with a 3-year-old inside, among other crimes. They said he was unfairly targeted due to his activism against ICE. This past Sunday, he was back in custody, accused of several new crimes. The 3-year-old was in the back seat of the car. Good grief. General Flynn says, conspiracy to overthrow the United States. By now, if you're breathing, you know Obama and his minions conspired to overthrow the U.S., the presidency of the United States, and to undermine the will of the majority of the Americans who voted for Trump in 2016 to be the 45th president. These are very serious charges and or allegations. Bondi, we need to see some accountability. Is this a different Tulsi quote?
How many people are you surrounded by that are still part of that old system?
Good question.
It's a good question. As I'm screaming for indictments, you still have to root out the other traitors who are going to try to, interfere in the investigation. But my guess is you go after and get the top 100 people, and you got to get 100, like, get them all at once, get them all, like, coordinate it, sync it up, organize it, drop the hammer. And when you go get leadership, you say, look, to anybody involved on this, or this, we're going to grant a temporary window of opportunity for immunity. Come to us with what you have, and we'll make you immune from charges. We need every piece of information we can to make sure that these crimes are dealt with. You can resign and we won't throw you in jail and you can move on with your life, but we need every piece of information you have. I get that might take a little bit of time. Finding these documents, going through them, declassifying and releasing them, we are learning more about who is actually directly involved and implicated in this. We're learning more about who may have been in the room and who was loudly protesting against it, recognizing how wrong it was. We have whistleblowers coming forward with their own documentation of their protests and their unwillingness to go along with this.
Yeah, a lot of people say, man, don't come after me. I didn't want to be a part of this.
So yes, there are people who are still working within the intelligence community who had a hand in this. As we are identifying them, it will give us the opportunity to make sure that they and others like them who, again, are so willing to weaponize intelligence to subvert the will of the American people can no longer work in the intelligence community.
Yep, you gotta leave. James O'Keefe says, it's taken me a while to fully understand the fight against powers and principalities. It's about the darkness inside the hearts of men, the lack of conscience, the evil in their ability to lie without remorse or introspection. I have seen such evil, and I'll never be the same. Agreed. City Council member Victoria Parks, Democrat, says they begged for that beatdown. Unbelievable. Philadelphia, 4 shot at a recreation center, including 2 children, aged 10 and 11, and 1 city staffer. An unidentified male is extremely critical, aged 17 to 20. 75 kids were in the rec center pool at the time. madness, complete just absolute disgrace to humanity. And this stupid violence. Yeah, Susan Rice, be brave. Tell your story of how Trump's policies have hurt you, your family, your business, your community. It's essential we hold leaders accountable for their actions. Mike Flynn, Susie, here's part of my life that you were directly involved in trying to destroy. Give us all a break and crawl back into that deep hole that you just crawled out of. Yeah, Susan Rice is going to be guilty, guilty, guilty. She is protesting too much. Mike Lee says, tell your senators to clear the confirmation backlog. Reach out to them and say, hey, people like Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, and John Thune are blocking Donald Trump's appointments. This is on its own borderline treason, says Mark Lynch. Trish Regan says, I'll tell you why they're all blocking a review for Nancy Pelosi's trades, because they must worry that they're guilty too. Newsflash, you should never be allowed to trade on individual stocks without mountains and mountains of red tape and serious SEC scrutiny. The fact that they can, it's entirely because they're protecting themselves in their own cozy, profitable portfolios, all of them, both sides. Yeah, we got to stop that. Grand conspiracy. POTUS and DNI showed documents proving Obama and his intelligence heads engaged in treasonous conspiracy. So West Point allowed NGOs to select professors and staff, according to Amuse. Deep State, we found out almost by accident that NGOs were appointing West Point professors after Jen Easterly, Biden's CISA Director of Disinformation Governance Board founder, Director and Disinfo Governance Board founder, Jen Easterly, was tapped to become the newest West Point Military Academy professor. Insane. The Secretary of the Army rescinded the offer and suspended the practice of allowing NGOs to pick our warfighters professors. Seriously, Jen Easterly? Wow. Rod Martin says Tulsi exposed Obama's coup plotters, but one of their foot soldiers is still in the White House. Now, April Falcon Doss helped fabricate the Russia hoax, and now she's a top lawyer at Trump's NSA. How did this happen, and why is she still there? All right, into the world of sports. Shannon Sharp says he wishes the news of ESPN firing him had waited until after his brother was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but following accusations, Shannon Sharp has been fired by ESPN. Also, his brother is going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So yeah, he didn't want to overshadow that, but you're also bringing a lot more attention to that. First team of brothers to be inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I'm not going to read Gavin's reaction to Kamala's statement about governor. Or Kamala's statement. I'll just tell you she's not running. Anti-Trump Democrat Russia collusion hoax investigator fired as NASA general counsel. So April Doss is fired as NSA general counsel on Tuesday. There you go. See ya. Portland, Oregon, Antifa militants stalk a journalist, Katie Davis Court, and blinds her with strobing flashlights and motorcycle headlights, encircling her in an attempt to prevent her from leaving the riot. This is the behavior of fascists, suppression of media, and narrative control, says Cam Higbee. If you missed it, Fed governors Waller and Bowman dissented in favor of a rate cut. It's the first two-governor Federal Reserve dissent in 32 years. As the Fed keeps rates unchanged as expected. That wasn't expected. That's bullshit that they're doing that. Lower the rates. I see no good reason to keep them high. And that's our currency. Get out of our finances. Get out. Remember, in 24, Elizabeth Warren said Jerome Powell needs to cut interest rates. Now, Trump needs to stop calling for Jerome Powell to cut interest rates. It's madness. She is one of the worst, Pocahontas. Top FDA official resigns in disgrace after an expose by investigative journalist Laura Loomer. Check out that story. The release of the Durham Final Report Annex is directly related to the play against the globalist cult just made in trying to fracture the MAGA base, starting with this photo op in March. Says Brian Cates. Why did the globalist cult create the Epstein client list narrative and use all of its neocon media assets who spent the last 8 years infiltrating us to begin loudly calling for its release right after Trump won the election? Trump has directly told you several times at this point why his enemies did this. Did you believe him? So I think Brian Cates is questioning if these people are actually on Team Trump, if I'm reading that right. Uncommon Sense, are there any, they ask the question, are there any videos of groups of white people jumping and beating up unsuspecting blacks? I don't think I've ever seen one in my entire life, yet I seem to see the opposite daily. Link these elusive unicorns in the comments if they do exist. So there is new video out, and you could say that the guy involved, well, let's just get to the video. Let's scroll. Oh, remember the guy that was systematically distributing thousands of dollars of bionic face shields to rioters in LA? Well, according to Nick Sortor, the Department of Justice has dropped all charges against the man. I don't understand why. Major win for parents here. Breaking. In a bombshell decision, the U.S. Department of Education has ruled that 5 Northern Virginia school districts breached Title IX by allowing gender identity-based access to sex-segregated facilities. It's a huge victory for parents and students. Thank you. This morning, Trump went on another posting spree about locking up Obama and his cronies for treason. Is Trump just talking shit, or is he actually trying to tell us that arrests are coming? Interpret this however you like, but Trump continues to normalize this possibility. I mean, look, Trump's sharing the Q stuff, right? Be the calm in the storm. We knew this day would come. It's time to indict Obama, the traitor, for treason. Treason. Evidence proves both the FBI and CIA were deeply involved in the historic 2020 election lie that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian propaganda. Read truth if you want these criminals brought to justice. And yes, until this happens, nothing will change. Tim Walz in Minnesota signs a law saying Minnesotans can get a driver's license regardless of immigration status. You can't even verify these people can read English, write English, comprehend English, and you want them on the road reading signs in English? No. Wesley Hunt says they're trying to flood our market with all these illegal voters. This is absolutely disgusting. Glenn Beck says to call your senators and demand they pass President Trump's nominees before taking vacation. You didn't elect them to be all talk and no action. It's time for them to do their job. George Papadopoulos asks what Clapper and Comey were doing in Australia during their secret trip, because it's going to be headline news. U.S. spy boss James Robert Clapper Jr. makes a secretive visit to Australia. New footage showing a male vandal who threw 2 smoke bombs at a Christian concert in Montreal. A lot of Christian hate these days by the libs. Trump talking about Pelosi and insider trading. This is President Trump directly talking about the treason.
Mr. President, do you think that Congress should start impeachment proceedings against Barack Obama?
Well, it's not an impeachment. He's out of office.
But
they should do something, because you have to recognize the wrong that they've done, and it can never be allowed to happen again. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Trump has come out with a new statement on Truth Social.
You have to recognize the wrong that they've done. All right. Did you watch? Here's WNBA news. Here's a weird piece of sports. Watch the game here. They're playing their little lady basketball. Hang on. Did I miss the clip? Here, let's rewind it. So they're dribbling, playing lady basketball, shots blocked. Whoa, something goes flying onto the court, something green. There's a shot. Oh, that's an air ball. Oh, tipped out of bounds. I mean, it's just sloppy basketball. But while they're playing, a large item comes flying onto the court. There it is. Someone threw a neon green dildo onto the court of a WNBA game. Number one, that could have actually hurt somebody. Number two, it's kind of super funny. I don't get it, but there it is. They picked it up. Where are you supposed to walk with a electric neon green dildo that flew on the court? Bam, right there. So weird. Anyway, Jerome Powell sucks and he's stealing your money. Twitter under Jack Dorsey took this video down after Trump retweeted it. Then they locked his account. I'm guessing it has music. If it does, you can watch it on your...
Trump will not be president. Highly critical, biased text messages between senior FBI officials.
Yeah, it's just got... I've been having too many problems with little plunky music behind the videos. Just watch it on X. Obamagate. Right there. Chicago Ray reposted it. Looks kind of cool. Look at this. I'll go take your Tesla out to the moon saloon. Looks like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's just Tesla being Tesla. Check out Bernie Sanders' weird question and weird response. Let's full screen him.
Would you be okay with Congress giving her immunity to testify?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
That's what she wants.
I haven't thought about it. I don't know the answer to that.
No position.
You're the first person who has asked me about it.
Okay, well, when you have a position, will you let us know?
You'll be the first.
Senator Bernie Sanders, we always appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's interesting, the body language and... He stumbled. It's very odd. Very odd indeed. Tim Pool talking about how it may indicate, these reports, that they wanted Hillary to win because they had dirt on her. Mounting evidence suggests that Russia's efforts were aimed at supporting Hillary, not Donald. This Brennan says he's 19 years old. He's seen firsthand Gen Z is the most conservative generation around, and they stand with President Trump. There was a fellow young Republican and Danville Councilman Lee Vogler who was set on fire. He was attacked. They're saying that he, Virginia lawmaker doused in gasoline, set on fire inside his office, ambushed in broad daylight with 5 gallons of gas and ignited. Police say it was personal, not political, and the guy's in custody. I guess it was a potential relationship this guy was having with some lady. Not cool. Pelosi has a 720% return on her stock picks over the last 10 years. Wow. Let's see those returns after something like the Pelosi Act passes. Where is the new video? I thought we had it. I'm not seeing it. So let's the Cincinnati attack. Let's see if we can find it. I thought I shared it. It should be red. Yeah, where do I find this? No, what? Hold on. Okay, so that's where the video starts. But there's more to... Why can't I find the video? I can't explain it without showing you the video. I can't... An innocent lady getting attacked. A dude knocks her out and destroys her. Where is the video? I can't find it. I watched it earlier. Oh, God. Just brutal. Okay, I thought Cincinnati attack, new video. And look at all these people running in just to attack these people. Is this the video? No, guys, I watched something, but if I can't even see it, I don't even know if what I watched was real. I'm trying to find it right now. If anybody can find that video, tag us at American_media_. I want to talk about it tomorrow. If it's real video, if it's not, I mean, it could be AI at this point. I can't trust what I'm watching. Well, all right. I guess I'll end the show there. I had one more story I wanted to get to. Can't find the footage. I thought I shared it. I thought I talked about it. Let me try one more way. Let's reset the profile. No, it's not at the top either. All right. Well, I thought there was more to the story. I can't find it, so I can't talk about it. What I thought I saw was some sort of interaction prior to all of those videos we saw. And it showed the guy that got jumped, put his hand on the face of another, like they were squared up to do something. I mean, he didn't like give him a hard smack across the face or something, but he did reach out and it looked like he put his hand on his face. I can't find that video. I don't know if it's accurate. Even so, it doesn't justify 20 people curb stomping a dude that could potentially kill him. And it certainly doesn't have anything to do with a lady who's standing there who hasn't done anything to anybody getting knocked out. And I showed you those pictures. So if there was more video, I was willing to say we have to be able to reevaluate based on new information, and I still retain that. I have the right to add new information to the mix and come up with a brand new philosophy stating my current perspective based on new information. We should all be willing to do that. And I wish we would have taken a look backward to look at the whole story of the George Floyd story instead of just that selectively edited piece of video. I wish we would have looked at all of the claims and all of the autopsies together and the pause in the video to see, was that drugs on his tongue that he was swallowing as he was hyperventilating, either having a heart attack or having an overdose. The whole video where it was a polite interaction with a highly agitated person. Like I said, either having a panic attack, a heart attack, or an overdose, potentially. And who just got arrested and handcuffed and put in the back seat of a car. I didn't see that officer trying to kill anybody. It was the guy in the back of the car that wiggled out, got on the ground, and that's when the knee came out. But there's a lot of people in Minneapolis, the police officers, who say we were trained to put our knee on the shoulder, neck, upper back area to restrain somebody. And they say, oh, no, you choked him out. You broke his neck. And they asphyxiated him. And there's different reports and different allegations about what different autopsies should have shown. But anytime there's a story, there's a lot to unpack. There's a lot to consider. And I'd be very careful about the people that are going to try to show you a heavily edited clip and try to get you fired up about something without context. I didn't like seeing what I saw. And even if the video I did see existed, it's not and by the way, at that point, that person's retreating. You know, it's hard to justify 20 people attacking somebody. And I saw nothing that would justify knocking that woman out. But I don't have the video. So if I can find it, I will talk about it. But for now, I am going to bounce. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on today's program. Follow the New American Media on Instagram, Facebook, True Social, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitch, Kick, D-Live, and YouTube at the New American Media. On Telegram and Signal at TNAM and TNAM Chat, on X and American_Media_, and subscribe to our podcast, The Agree to Disagree Show, on Spotify and Apple. Also, our tip jar is on Patreon at the New American Media, Venmo and Cash App at Brian Engelman, ENGELMAN, BRIAN, and PayPal, fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. Actually, I got to change that on there because we tried to look it up by the account name and it didn't work. Thank you, Deb, for helping me figure that out. Fuzzinstallment@yahoo.com. There we go. We'll change that. Perfect. All right. Signing out on behalf of everybody out there in the TNAM universe. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you. Everybody in chat. Nick Adams and everybody else watching at home. I appreciate you. I love you. We'll be back again tomorrow at noon to unpack the news again. Until next time. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.